generations. Today, we'll explore how the writer's vision and the editor's craft interact, the delicate balance between structured narrative and creative freedom, and why both tables demand equal passion and precision. Please join me in welcoming the powerhouse of talent, Shri Raju Hirani. Thank you, sir. I now request our esteemed steering committee member and renowned producer, Shri Ravi Kodarakara, sir, to honor our guest with a shawl and then say a few words.
Shawl.
It's not my duty to come and speak about everybody, but we are forced to speak about everybody for only one thing, their achievements. This human being, making a film, producing a film is no ordinary job. You should know what to produce, what to make, and only a visionary can make good films. This is a visionary par excellence. Being an editor, it is always told the first frame and last frame is important. That's what when we do in editing, where we open and where we close, where we start and where we end. Before he starts a film, once he hears the story, he has visualized the entire film. That is why No One Day is produced. All the hits, the Mission Kashmir, then you got PK, then Munaba, and all the hits, because once he hears the story, the entire vision, he has screened the whole film. It has come in his eyes, it has come in his mind, and he knows what to present to all of you. Let him make wonderful films hereafter, and let us enjoy, and let them be a part of our lives till we live. Till we live. That's what I said. So kindly give a big hand to the great.
So we are all so excited for this session. The stage is now yours.
Hello, yeah. Good evening. No, good afternoon. Sorry. I see many familiar faces. That scares the hell out of me. A film is made on two tables, writing and editing. Don't worry, it's not a workshop on furniture making. It's still about filmmaking. And I'm glad actually I've been given this topic because I have started my life as an editor. For many years I edited films, ads, documentaries, everything till I made my first film. I'll try and talk about editing first. Or let's talk a little about the writing table first. Writing, when you're writing, actually, it's a place where you're dreaming. You can think of anything you want. There is no barrier there. You start imagining whatever you want. There are no budgets, there are no schedules. There are no bad actors there. There are no cloudy days. You start imagining whatever you want. You'll begin exterior, run off Kutch, morning. Then early morning. No, very early morning. Barren land, a ray of light falls on the ground, pink sky which turns orange, and a massive sun which fills up the screen. Against there, a shadow of a man a salute. He walks towards the camera like a panther. You can imagine anything you want. But when this shot reaches the editing room, it is different. Because the sun, which was supposed to come out in the morning, didn't come out till 9. It was a cloudy morning. Then the actor who was supposed to be behind the sun was supposed to be behind the actor. It's gone up. The actor who was supposed to rise before the sun rose a little late, so you had to use a double. And who had drunk at night, so he didn't walk like a panther. So you have what is imagined and what reaches the editor are two different things. Because in between writing and editing, there's something called shooting. And which, whatever you imagine, it's never the same. Things are always different from what you imagine to what it reaches the editor. Now, what does an editor do? He has to save the film. He has to kind of rewrite whatever was imagined on the film and which didn't get executed the way it should have been done. So, before we start talking about writing, I'll actually go to editing first. I can see some editors here, so. I feel an editor is an unsung hero. You know, you can see the work of a cameraman. You can see how he frames a shot, how he lights up a shot, and you can say, this is good work. You can see the work of a production designer. You say, oh, great sets. You know, it's really showing the way it should have been, that period is there. You can see the work of a costume designer. You can see the work of a sound designer. You can see the work of a music composer, background score. But the work of an editor is usually invisible. His work cannot be seen. He is actually most of the time correcting mistakes of many other people. He is removing the pauses, extra pauses which an actor gave. He is removing the out of focus shots, replacing it with some reaction somewhere. He's actually solving many other problems. So you really can't judge the work of an editor. And, you know, a lot of people ask me, what does an editor do? Because most people think, what does an editor do? He's joining shots. They say, director ने तो shoot कर लिया, आपके पास shots आ गए, और आपने NG हटा दिए, you took the okay shots. Then you start connecting. You say, okay, start here, end here, and you just joined shots. So that's the impression most people carry, that it's just a matter of joining shots. And I say, no. Actually, editor is such an important cog in the wheel of filmmaking. He does much more than that. I'll tell you a small story which happened with me about 25 years back. I used to make ad films then. I was shooting for an ad film out of Mumbai, and that evening at dinner, I was sitting with one of the client servicing guys from the agency, and the same conversation started, that what does an editor do? So I said, nahi yaar, you know, I said, the ad we are shooting, look at it's a testimonial kind of a film. We are shooting 30 minutes with this person. We have to cut it down to 40. And it should also look in real time. It should not look that in 40 seconds we've made it look jump cuts, and so you have to give the tension, you have to create drama, you have to do all that. He said, nahi yaar, ye sab kuch aisa nahi hota hai. Editor kya karta hai? Director shoot karta hai, editor join kar deta hai shots. So my blood in me boiled yaar, as a being an editor. I said, nahi, aisa nahi hota hai yaar. You know, editor really works hard. And with every bottle of beer he was finishing, his belief became stronger and stronger that no, editor doesn't do anything. It's only the director who works. Editor kya hai? Kuch nahi hota. Shot join karta hai, wo joiner hai. I got really pissed. So next day I told one of my assistants, I said, just take a camera, go to him and tell him we are doing the making of this ad film, and just ask him some random questions. Very random questions. He said, what? I said, ask him anything. Who's your favorite person on the set? How's the shoot going? How many times you eat in a day? Ask just random questions and don't worry. He said, why? I said, just do it. So he took a camera went to the agency guy and said, I'm doing a making, and he kept on asking some random questions. We came back to Mumbai. I finished cutting the ad. I sent it to the agency, made sure it's approved, made sure the money has come in. After all that was done, then I took this footage. And all his answers, I took it. And all I did was just change the questions that were asked to him. I'll tell you what happened later with him, what I did. But I'll show you a little clip, which when I told this story to one of my assistants much later, after we had done Munna Bhai, so he got very excited with this experiment. He said, let me try. So he did this experiment. This is still a toned down version of what I had done to him. So I'll just show it to you that this is a very basic example of how is the same expression, same everything. The questions got changed and what happens. So I'm going to first play you a little clip where the actual questions are there and the actual answers are there, and then the change questions. So let's just have a look.
Round the clock. Anything from 10 hours to maybe longer than that?
It depends. Sometimes 4 to 8 hours, sometimes 24 hours.
8 to 10 hours.
Depends, between 8 to 10 hours, usually.
Everyone. Lakshmi Priya Devi.
Nikita.
Sachin.
Whenever I'm hungry.
At least 4 times?
4.
3 to 4 times.
4 times. 5. Always.
Never.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Of course, my table.
I like the balcony outside.
The editing room.
Everywhere.
So now these were the actual questions. Now I'll just replace the questions. See what happens. This was a new question.
Round the clock. Anything from 10 hours to maybe longer than that?
It depends. Sometimes 4 to 8 hours, sometimes 24 hours.
8 to 10 hours.
Depends, between 8 to 10 hours, usually.
Everyone. Lakshmi Priya Devi.
Nikita.
Sachin.
Whenever I'm hungry.
At least 4 times?
4.
3 to 4 times.
4 times. 5. Always.
Never.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Of course, my table.
I like the balcony outside.
The editing room.
Everywhere.
So what I'd done to that agency guy was far more worse than this. I'd put absolutely perverted questions and made a DVD of it and sent to his house to watch. At 1 in the night, I got a call from him, screaming at me, "What the hell is this?" I said, "I gave you an example of what editing is." He said, "It came in the hands of my mother. She played it on the DVD and now she's not believing whatever I'm telling her." Of course, I never got any work from them later. That's another story. So I'm saying it's a very basic example of what editing can do. You write something, you don't achieve what you have written, you can actually flip, you can change the meaning. I think what editing can do is really change the meaning of a story. And how does it happen? When you write something, what is your unit of writing? Your unit of writing is a word. When you put many words together, it makes a sentence. Sentences put together will make a paragraph, a chapter, and finally a book. Similarly, the unit of editing is a shot. The shots by themselves they might not contain the entire meaning. But when those shots are put together with many other shots, a new meaning emerges. And now imagine being able to change the shots, flip the shots. A shot also will have sound. Take the sound from here, put it somewhere else. So when in a film you have 10,000 shots, you have the liberty of using transitions, you have the liberty of using music, sound effects. So you can actually completely transform from what it was intended to be. So in film school, actually, we were constantly given this very basic example. So I really can't get into extreme details we'll do it someday. I'll try to show basic things of how there used to be a Kuleshov experiment, which we were shown in the film school, where you've just taken 2 shots and 1 shot is later replaced and the entire meaning changes. So this I've just picked up from somewhere, I'll just show it to you. We'll talk about it later. So as you see, the expression is the same. Like in the example earlier I showed you about what we done experiment in the office. Their expressions have not changed. Whatever they said has not changed, but the meaning has changed. Similarly here, first shot is the same. Second shot, what the lady is seeing, first she sees a person eating an ice cream, then she sees his dog. So meaning completely changes. A viewer is actually quite capable of filling in the blanks. So without really changing anything, you can, this is, as I said, it's a very basic example, but imagine when you have thousands of shots with you, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, like can completely transform the meaning of a film. I'll get you into a little bit of history. Don't worry, I won't bore you. When cinema started, it was like theater. Camera was just sitting at one point, filming everybody in long shots. How you're sitting and watching me from there, you see one angle, that person sees from one angle. So camera was like that. The big brother was theater. Actors would come in from one side, exit the other side, like how they do it in the wings, come from here and go there. So it was just reproduction of life. It wasn't creating any drama. Whatever inherent drama was happening in the scene, but was being viewed from a long distance, more a reproduction of life. Then this famous story of Edwin Porter. One day he was playing with some shots. There was a shot of a fire office where fire brigade place, where a lot of these firemen were coming out of the office and running towards the fire engine. And there was another shot of some place where there's fire and people are struggling to get out of the fire. A third shot where these people enter and save them. And that's the way it was intended to be put. Firemen running out, people there, they reach and save them. So what he did, I think first time somebody made a cut where he took the shot of people in fire first, struggling to get out of the fire. Then he cut to this fireman leaving. Then again he went back to the fire, people struggling. Again he went back to more people leaving from the fire engine place. Again he went back to the fire. Again he showed them coming, and then they reached. So when this was screened, what happened? Suddenly amongst the viewers there was anxiety. There was anxiety that, oh God, will they live or will they die? Will they be able to reach on time? So what somebody had actually done was, first time you had jumped from one place to another place. You had jumped in space, you had also jumped in time. And there was a realization that this can create some tension. So they realized that editing was capable of creating tension. Editing was capable of creating drama. Then there was this man called Griffith, D.W. Griffith. This was possibly 10 years later from this, after this experiment happened. He took a close-up. For the first time, a close-up was taken. Otherwise, as I said, life was just being reproduced in long shots. And when that was showed to the studio people, they said, no, we can't put a close-up in a film because people are paying full money for the ticket, and how will they will say, why are you showing us half the body, and they might not want to see it, studios. So, but finally, of course, it was screened to the people. And what they realized, what happened with people was suddenly, unlike a theater where you're watching from distance, this time they could go close to somebody's face and see the emotion on this face. It actually showed them the state of the mind of the person. He was crying and people started crying. So they realized the power of actually going close and being able to see what's happening inside the mind of that person. And that's when the use of editing started. They realized it can create drama, it can create tension, it can create anxiety, it can create humor if it's cut properly. And I actually strongly feel that cinema is one of the most important inventions of the last century. And if there was no editing, possibly this would have died a natural death. It would have just been used to record history and something else like that. Cinema has reached wherever it is. That's purely because of editing. And now, as you see, it's just growing. It's growing from one place to another. Aviyat told me that don't talk too much about our history, talk about some of our own anecdotes. So I was trying to recall what have we done actually in editing which was unique. So I just remember a story from Three Idiots. If you all recall, there was a speech which Chatur, the character, gives on stage like this. And that was a speech which Amir had changed that speech. He comes on stage and delivers another speech, and which puts him into trouble. Now when we made the first cut, and let me tell you, the first cut will always be bad. Always will be bad. So when we made the first cut, we showed it to some people. The major reaction was, why is Amir doing this to Chatur? He's such a nice guy. What has he done? Usne kya bigada hai kisi ka? Aap uske sath kyun aisa kar rahe ho? And in my head, when we were writing, in my head, Chatur was a guy who believed in a particular way of education. He was a guy who was doing rote learning and this thing. And then I realized it had not come through. Our attention was more on Virus, who was Baman, that Baman believed in education being in a certain way, and we were making him antagonist in our minds and not paying attention to this guy. That's why he was looking like an innocent guy. Then I said, what do we do? I went back to the rushes. I realized we had shots which we had not used in the scenes because thinking the scenes are getting longer. I had shots of whenever Amir was saying something, say in the machine classroom, I had shots of Chatur just sniggering at him, just saying, what the hell is he talking? When Baman is showing his pen, he says, who wants this pen? This guy is the most eager viewer who's wanting it at the first thing. So all I did, in every scene, I just put some shots of this guy. That whenever Amir is talking some sense, this guy is sniggering. 4 or 5 places, all I did, I put the shots, I called back the same audience and showed this film and the reaction had changed. They felt, yeah, this guy Pagar believes his belief in education is wrong. He should be butchered like this. So it's nothing. It was just a few shots from here and there, and which just completely transformed the meaning. So you know what is happening today? If they are, this is advice to nahi deni chahiye, par thodi de dete aaj. If they are editing students, I can see a lot of students here. I'm sure some of them are film school students and editing students. There's something I'd like to tell all of you all that, you know what I see today, because the films are being now shot digitally, the quantum of rushes that we used to get when we were editing has multiplied many folds. There was a time when a 2-hour film, we would get about 10 hours of rushes, or 15, 20 hours of rushes. From that, we had to cut it to 2 hours. Now, because of digital, it's in lesser expensive, it's not so expensive, and people are putting 3 cameras, they're shooting rehearsals. So for 2 hours of film, you're getting 200 hours of rushes. And I've realized editors are not watching those rushes. The whole system has changed. The way we were trained was that go and first watch the rushes, twice watch the rushes, make notes of what you like in that. Okay shot, it's not necessarily the okay shot. There are millions of gems lying in not okay shots. There are great reactions lying. Some actors done some great performance here. Make a note of all those. Put it in your system before you attempt to edit. Now I see many editors actually, they don't even see the rushes. They have 2 assistants who come in, who see the rushes, who do basic edit. Then the editor walks in, he sees the first cut, and if he's seeing this, it's not consistent, it's not smooth, he just improves the smoothness of it. But he's not even seen the rushes. And I tell them, you know, you think you're working fast, but trust me, you will have to go back to the rushes, try and find the best shots, and you will end up wasting more time. And I've done it as an experiment. I have sat there and seen the rushes peacefully. I've given it to somebody else, tum jaise karna hai. And I've finished in, 1/4 of the time they edit. But all you need to have the patience to sit and watch your rushes. Trust me, there are gems all over the place, and you will make a great edit. And I keep saying, don't edit only for the director. You say, okay, this is what the director wants, this is the story, but seeing these rushes is giving me great ideas. I think I can rewrite, make your own cut, make your own edit. And once you make that edit, chances are somebody might see it and he say, I didn't see it like this. I can change it. So there's basically great magic which can happen with editing. I think I should now shift to the other table. Oh, no, sorry, what is this? This is the journal. So I'll skip this. No. Oh, I'm going all over the place. No, sorry. I'll show you that last clip was, I remembered what's it. So this is an example of a clip. Somebody sent this to me. Now 3 Idiots is supposed to be a light-hearted comic film. Somebody's taken the same footage, the same shots, and
कौन है तुम लोग?
वो सुसाइड नहीं कर सकता,
मर्डर था।
भेजा उड़ा के कहीं कोने में दफला दूंगा, किसी को पता भी नहीं चलेगा।
So the point I'm trying to make is that every shot can be used differently. You have support of background music, transitions, text, voiceovers. You have tons of tools as an editor to completely change the meaning of the film. And when it's not working the way it's intended in the script, use these tools to change the meaning. Sometimes you can make it reach where the script was intended to. Sometimes you can make it reach beyond where the script was supposed to go. One little more example I remember, I think that clip is there. Again, Three Idiots. See, the whole film begins talking about Rancho. These friends are looking for a rancher who had changed their lives, who was a great influence in their life. So the first 15-20 minutes about Rancho, that how great he was, how great he was. And suddenly at one point, the story was shifting from Rancho to another guy called Joy Lobo. And the guy who eventually kills himself. Again in the screenings, test screenings when it did, a major reaction came. He says, "Yahan story suddenly gir jati hai." Because the story was moving away from the protagonist to another character, they felt disconnected. He says, "Okay, now another character's come, his story has started." For months we struggled, the same reaction was coming. And eventually all we did, I remember, Abhijat was there, all we did was, we wrote a line. So from Amir doing 10,000 things, we wrote a line which said, "Ek aur tha, jo Rancho jaisa tha." And then we cut to this guy. And suddenly the viewer was engrossed. He says, "Oh, there's another like Rancho. Oh, what is he going to do?" So you kept the engagement alive. It's a quick clip, I'll just. So this is one of my favorite quotes which says, "Writing is emotion imagined and editing is emotion experienced." Before I go to writing, since Abhijat happens to be in Goa and he's here, and we've written all the films together, I would like to call Abhijat also on stage before we talk about writing. Come. Shall I get a shawl? So actually the whole idea is that we won't talk about, it's not a workshop we can really get into talking about plot points or conflicts and obstacles and how do we do it. We're just going to talk about a few things which we tend to follow when we write a script. We definitely keep all these things in mind while we are writing this. So one of the first things that we keep in mind is that your main protagonist should have a want. A film begins only when a character wants something. If there's no want of the character, then the audience also doesn't want it, they go home. So you have to have a very strong want. Want could be anything. Want could be like in Munna Bhai, his want was to become a doctor. Or in PK, the want was to go back home. So you have to have an extremely strong want, which is what drives the film. You'd like to expand?
Okay. Since I've been listening to Raju sitting there, I think I'll tweak this a little and talk about, in this perspective, what is Raju's want when he's editing? He wants it to work. He wants the damn thing to work. And for that, he's prepared to do anything. So he told me once, and it's one of the most amazing things he said, editing is like meditation for me. So I have seen this man editing for hours, forgetting the clock. And that's the want. You know, that he really wants, in my opinion, he's the greatest editor in this history of cinema. And I can say this because I worked with Walter Murch. I worked with Walter Murch, who has written Blink of an Eye, which is considered to be a seminal book. So the amount that I've learned from Raju, just through that sheer want to excel constantly. So in Three Idiots, if you see, there's this desire on Rancho's part to excel. He wants to learn. He wants education. He doesn't want a degree. There is another want, and there is a conflict of wants, which For instance, Virus wants to be right. He has lived an entire life based on a principle and he's terrified of being proved wrong. So in order to be right, he can fail people, you know. And finally he changes, of course. Chatur can't change because Chatur wants to succeed. He has no principles. So there is this battle of wants, and every film that we have written. Now when we are writing Three Idiots, we are not so conscious of this. But it happened instinctively. But then later on what happens is that what was an instinct once, it becomes a tool. It becomes a part of your DNA. You have learned a principle and you try to recall that. So now, whenever Raju starts a film, he gives a very clear instruction. What is the character's want? If the want is not strong, there is no film.
So, you know, even if it's a love story, the want is to find love. If it's a revenge story, if it's justice story, the character has to have a want. Otherwise, it's a spineless. I'm not saying they're hard and fast rules, but this is what we try and follow. There will be always exceptions. You'll find films which were without a want. But personally, we feel that you should have a character want.
Conflict is oxygen. Yes, conflict in life is not something which is welcome, but in cinema, without conflict, things get very boring very quickly. You know, Javed Saab had told me a fantastic thing. I was asking him about Diwar, and I said that, you know, the intensity of that conflict that I see in Diwar, I don't think I've seen anywhere else. And I said that I asked him a question as a student, and I asked him that how did you achieve this? That when a lot of you would have seen Diwar, if you have not, please correct that and do see it. It's one of the truly great screenplays. And I asked him that how did you achieve this? That there is one unimpeachable argument. So when Amitabh Bachchan says कि पहले उसका sign लेके आओ, जिसने हमारे साथ ये किया, ये किया, ये किया, you are completely convinced that what he's saying is correct. And then the other character, the mother's character, कि उसने जो किया वो मेरा कौन था, वो कोई नहीं था. Right? When she says that, she has stopped that. She has gone beyond. So one unimpeachable, unanswerable argument, the other character tops that. And I asked him about it. And he told me that वो argument universe में कहीं होती है और वो हमें ढूंढनी पड़ती है. So he said कि you don't lessen the argument that you want should be strong, but the other argument should be as strong, and then you have to top it. वो argument कहीं universe में होती है. ये मेरे को याद रह गया. और if you have seen PK, at the end there is a debate between Tapaswi and PK, and in that debate we have given very strong arguments to Tapaswi. So the conflict is the heart of cinema. There are two kinds of conflicts. One is between a bad guy and a good guy. So that's what myths are based on, and that is one kind of conflict. The other kind of conflict, which is sometimes very, very fascinating, is two colliding points of view, where you feel both people are right and both have a point of view, and you are watching in shock as to who do I go with, and then probably you reach a conclusion at the end. And that is like the two opposite truths colliding is a conflict that I genuinely value.
See, what is exposition? Actually, when you write a story, you need to give the viewer a lot of information about your characters, about his background. Who is he? Where does he come from? What does he want? Now, all these, if you start writing scenes to give his background and his desires, he's going to get a very boring scene. So, the challenge is always to hide the exposition. Hide it under drama, hide it under conflict. Let it come. So you think you're seeing a conflict, you're seeing drama, and within that you come to know about the character. So always your first draft of the scripts will not have it, because you feel the need to give information about those characters. So you tend to talk about them. And later, you start removing it. Like there's this, I've carried that clip actually in 3 Idiots. The first opening scene when Madhavan is sitting in a plane and he brings the plane down. That was written, I still remember the first half was written very simple. He's in his home, he gets a phone call from Chatur, then he calls up Sharman and both go. What we needed to communicate was that what Rancho means to Madhavan and Sharman. He's such an important man that they can do anything for him. And we just shifted the scene to a plane. So they have to bring down, he has to bring down the plane. Shall I just play it actually?
So in the same film, there's one example, which is one of my favorite examples of exposition. I recall a line from Billy Wilder, who had said that exposition should be like the whistle of a pressure cooker. It should build, tension should build. Don't give them easily. The moment you give them easily, they don't value it, information. Let the tension build and then it explodes. Like in Chinatown, is she your sister or daughter? Sister or daughter? Sister or daughter? He keeps slapping and finally she says, she's my sister and my daughter. You know, now that horrific exposition comes through. But before that, there's tremendous tension. So in 3 Idiots, we were reading out scripts to people by then, and Swanand had pointed out that after interval, there's a huge high that, oh, it's a wrong guy, there's an imposter, there's a wrong guy in the photo. And you suddenly wonder, what is happening? Who is the real Rancho? What is going on? And then in the script, Javed Jafri was just sitting and telling his story, what happened. But Swanand told us that, that was a little downer. So we immediately got to work. We are greedy for that. You know, if somebody points out a problem and we agree, then that's a great opportunity to improve it. So we are greedy for that kind of criticism. So when he pointed out, we started working and then we came up with the idea of the 2 urns. That Shamal Das Chanchad's asthis are being taken and, the 2 friends, they threaten Javed Jafri that uska visarjan ho jayega commode mein. And that's how he's compelled to tell the story. So compulsion is the key. And there's another example in, actually, Lage Raho Munna Bhai.